So I am going to talk about service from the inside, and especially thinking about signals. So what do I mean by signal? The Institute for the Future, which is a lovely place in Palo Alto, talks about signals as these kind of local disruptions that have the potential to grow. When I've been talking about futures things in the past, I talk about these things as precursors. These are the things that you start to see evidence of that are the beginning of the seeds of the new things that will be coming. So it's about signals, and it's also about inside. And inside is really thinking about situated within the confines of something. So you can think about this in a lot of different ways. Inside the United States, inside the organization, inside people. So it's about those two things. 2 years ago, I did a talk at Jamin's conference in San Francisco about inside out, outside in. And in that conference, in that talk, I talked about how 2 years before that, really in 2013, 2012, we started seeing these forces aligning. And it started with VC firms. John Maeda went to a VC firm, and he talked about how design was really taking hold, not only generally, but just everywhere. And I think the thing that I was concerned about at that time is that companies were not necessarily responding in the right ways. First way that they were responding is saying, we should act like a startup, right? So let's, in our big organizations, say we have a different kind of house. We're going to be a startup within. Well, these things are often really problematic because you have this larger organization that really wants to react to those antibodies, and it makes it difficult to really be successful. Lots of organizations, including my own, the broader Accenture, talks about getting design thinking. And for me, at that point, I was seeing this as, sort of putting in new windows in your house and expecting to see differently. Because it was more just like, let's get new windows. But then there was something that started to happen that was really design transforming the house. So we were seeing better products and services, better places to work, and amazingly enough, design was bringing a huge return on investment. So 2 years have gone by, and things have changed. And I love this photo because it really reminds me of a lot of what I think has happened in the broader culture with the absorption, acquisition of all of the organizations. So this is John Maeda's 2017 tech report, and you can see from 2004 to 2017 how many design organizations have been acquired. I think it's really, really amazing, right? And it continues. He makes the case that designers really remain in high demand. And I think you can probably sense that from the fact that I've already talked to like 3 different people who are talking about the fact that they're hoping to recruit while they're here. So design is definitely in high demand. But business is continuing to turn to design, and there's more service design and more service design happening inside organizations. This is an article that Jesse Grimes, also from the Service Design Network, has written in March about going big or going home, and what the sort of advantages and disadvantages to service design inside organizations and all of these acquisitions, what that's really like. I recommend it highly. So one of the things that I was really interested in is sort of understanding, what does a community think? So we posted a small survey, very quick survey, on the Service Design Network site to try and get a sense of what people were feeling. That's the fish. You getting the water theme here? So in the service design inside, 80% are designing services for within their organization that organization is going to deliver to outside folks, right? So most are still designing services for the world within their organizations. But I think the other interesting piece, and this is something that I'm very much a part of within Fjord and within Accenture, is we're designing services for the organization. Organizations have discovered this thing called employee experience. And lo and behold, employee experience is just as important as the customer experience. Of course, all of us in the service design community, of course, we've known this all along, that you can't just think about one side. You really have to think about both sides. But to me, this was a really refreshing stat to say that this is becoming much more pervasive. I also asked about what are the top 3 challenges that you're facing in your organization? And these are the top 3. Difficulty introducing innovation or change in current products and services. Okay? That's tough, right? Change is hard. There's a lot of work that you need to do to think about the programs for introducing change in your organization. So it's still really difficult. This one is a little disappointing to me. There's a lack of understanding or awareness of service design within the organization. I feel like, we've been around for a number of years, and we're still kind of having this problem of explaining service design. So I worry about that. And then the third one is not surprising, difficulty in implementation. I did a talk in San Francisco many years ago while I was still teaching at Carnegie Mellon, and I was showing all of the fabulous work that the students had done with University of Pittsburgh Medical Center and with Mayo Clinic and all of this great work. And I was sitting there at a panel with a woman from Kaiser Permanente. And I said, yeah, implementing is hard. And she was like, well, no shit, right? She said, try it in an organization. So I'm really excited that this is going to be, I feel, a really major thread at the Global Service Design Network Conference. We're going to address what it takes to really bring things to life. I also asked, what are the top 3 joys that you have in your everyday work experience? The first one was seeing the potential of improving people's lives, the effect on customer and employees. I don't know about you, but I was really excited about this because this is near and dear to my heart. This is why I do what I do. I really feel like design can change the world. Service design can really, really have a huge impact on the small things and the big things in people's lives. So that was great to hear. Collaborating across disciplines within my organization. I really think, and I've, again, talked about this for years, that you have to integrate disciplines. You have to bring people with different perspectives because the greatest innovations come from the spark of these different kind of languages that people bring to the picture. And then the third one was conducting immersive or human-centered research. People are super excited about doing the research that it takes to do great service design. So those were really nice. Okay, so that's the insight piece. What about signals? So the first signal that I'm going to talk about is visual communication driving everything. To me, in the past 2 years, or really in the last year, we've seen voice just skyrocket, right? But now we've also started to see this pervasiveness of visual communication in everyday business, right? So here's a little thing here from talking about the pervasiveness of emojis in business communication, and that it's actually a really good thing. It makes people feel good, this casual sort of thing. I worry a little bit that this casual thing, especially in the United States, is getting a little bit, becoming a little bit of a problem when we think that we can, sort of control global things through tweets. But other than that, I think the emojis and kind of humanizing communication in the office place is a nice thing. This is from Mary Meeker's Internet Trends from 2017. I love Mary Meeker, but this is a quote from Ben Silberman, Pinterest founder, and that we're going to start searching with pictures instead of keywords. And I think it's really interesting to think about the fact that searching is going to be like this, right? We're going to be aiming, searching. We don't have to say anything. It's just holding these things up and getting the information from the world. To me, that's really very interesting. And again, this is Google Lens, providing more context. I do have to say, though, that in 2009, there was an application called Yelp Monocle that did the very thing that was on the far right. So I feel like it's taken a while for this to come around, but I think it's really interesting. The second one, do any of you recognize this image? It was from a New York Times article. So it's called We're Thinking in Stacks. And the whole article was really about how everyday folks are starting to think and talk in technical language. You know, we talk about the different components that it takes to deliver on our technologies. But this one I think is interesting because I think that, you know, it could provide some sort of problem between people who know tech and people who don't know tech. So people are referring to like Twitter and Facebook as their social stack, or GNC, the nutrition company with the vitamins. They are selling packages which are sort of health stacks, right? And they call them that, which is fascinating. So this isn't new, especially for us, again, in service design. If you look at this is Airbnb's experiences. And to me, this is a stack, right? So you think about the experience that I want to have, and then you put all these pieces together to make for a delightful adventure. Agents that can negotiate. How many of you heard about the Facebook agents from the last week or so? Yeah. I think it's really interesting. This is the agents actually negotiating with each other, right? And the point here was that they have these dialogue agents that in the background can do the negotiation for us, right? So my agent can trade a book with you for a basketball and vice versa. What really brought this to the news was that the agents started developing their own language. So to me, that's really fascinating. Facebook said, that's not what we intended, so they shut it down because we wanted the agents to be able to communicate with people. But to me, it also points to something really interesting about the fact that once we start to train these systems, they're going to start to do things that are perhaps unexpected, right? Signal 4, better together. I was at MIT last week, and I heard about this, cancer diagnostic errors. When humans look at cancer images, the breast cancer images, their error rate is about 3.5%. When AI looks at the same images, their error rate is about 7.5. But when humans plus AI work together, it's 0.5. That is remarkable, right? So we have an almost 100% accuracy in diagnosing breast cancer with a human and the technology put together. It's really, really amazing. Anybody here know Lola? Lola is, again, a really nice service that what it does is it puts, again, human and AI together. And what you're doing is you're working with a travel agent that you actually believe is a person, and it moves seamlessly between the person and the AI so that you don't really have to, you don't know that it's the agent, but it provides the human agent the ability to give you much better service because it can offload lots of things and serve more people. So it's, you know, sort of zoning in, honing in on opportunities for you. The last one This is a picture of Regina Dugan presenting at the Facebook conference a few months back. And here she's talking about brain-to-computer communication, right? And Facebook wants to use the neural imaging technology to scan the brain and be able to understand what you intend to say, essentially, before you say it, so that you don't have to say it, which is pretty remarkable. Elon Musk talked about something else around 2015, where you have this implant and this neural thing grows in your head. I kind of like this better. But I think that it's really fascinating to think about what the implications of these things are, right? So the signals, in review, visual communication drives everything. We're thinking in stacks. Agents can negotiate. We're better together. AI and people are better together. And brain-to-computer communication. So with signals, the Institute of the Future teaches you that you have the sort of what are you seeing? What's the so what? So here's what I feel the so what is for us in service design. Remember these top 3 challenges? Difficulty introducing innovation or change in the current products and services, lack of understanding or awareness of service design, difficulty in implementation. This is what we say are our big challenges. Well, the bad news is it's going to be much worse, much more difficult, because we have visual everything, auditory everything, integrated experiences, everybody, the expectations. I talked about the rising expectations back at JAMA's conference. We have this background machine-to-machine interactions that are going on that we have to manage. AI is everywhere. And now, it's not design thinking. We're designing for thinking. Right? What is that going to be like? So I also think that this is exactly the good news, right? That it's going to be visual everything. One of the things that, when I first started to learn about service design and looking at blueprints and thinking about this notion of evidence, I thought, gosh, what an amazing thing for designers that we have these tangible things that we produce, this evidence. And many of those things were visual, right? So to me, this notion of bringing even more visual in and the seamless ability to interact with things visually is going to be incredible. The notion of integrated experience. I've been a proponent of this for a long time. I was really excited when Airbnb came out with this service. I think that there's going to be more and more in terms of organizations collaborating together to think about what the service is that they ultimately deliver to people. So it's not just a travel experience, it's my financial experience for those people who might be from financial organizations here. It's about real estate. It's about all of these things that are problematic for us today, that all we want to do is say, and I recently have had a real estate experience. I just want to say, I love that place. Rocket Mortgage promises that, push button, get mortgage. I still think it's a little bit more complicated than that, but I think we're going to start to see organizations working together for integrated experience. The background machine to machine, or these sort of negotiating agents, I think is going to be fascinating for us. Just think of the kind of augmentation that we can have if we walk into a retail environment. The AI in everything, sure, we can have that in retail, but I'm super excited about the transformation of healthcare and what that's going to mean there. And the design for thinking, well, I still think we have a few years to worry about that. So let's, but maybe some of you in the audience can be thinking about that now. So remember the top 3 joys, and now they're in reverse order. Conducting immersive research, collaborating across disciplines, and seeing the potential of improving people's lives. So I think the great news is we now have more joy, because we're going to be doing immersive research beyond the human, in the human-centered, right? We're going to be conducting research among people, as we always have, but we're going to start thinking about organizations in a different way. At Fjord, and Accenture, we talk about living businesses and thinking about their personalities and how they're expressing these things. So we're going to be doing research to understand those aspects of organizations with these qualities that were typically human qualities in the human-centered notion. And to me, the super exciting thing, and of course I don't have this figured out, but we're going to be starting to query these digital entities too. So we're going to be able to understand and query these robots or the bots or whatever the representation of artificial intelligence is, and have them contribute to our research as well in a very different way than we have by just looking at the analytics, right? So I think that that's really, really exciting. The next one, collaborating across disciplines within my organization. It really does take a village to do this work. So we're way beyond my favorite three, design, tech, and business. We're working with those data scientists, we're working with roboticists and neuroscientists, and more. To me, that's incredible. Just think about how much we're going to learn from these new disciplines and what it's going to do to bringing our language together. I'm super excited about that. And then finally, this, oh, I went the wrong way, sorry. The having impact in people's lives. I think we have the power to obviously improve people's lives really dramatically through service design, but I also see that, like with great power comes great responsibility. What are we going to do? Is it really ethical for the travel bot to be working with the real agent and you not knowing? How do we feel about that? So we have to be thinking about these new kinds of questions and what it means to be doing this kind of work in service design. So I think, and I used to talk about this way back when I was a young designer, that we have to think about those dark scenarios. We have to plan for that. Again, it feels funny talking about this in our current political environment, but I think we have so much power now. Think about those numbers from John Maeda. Think about how much design is influencing all of these big organizations and what power there is in service design because we are the integrators, right? I just want to do a little shout out here to a project that a team at Fjord just shared with me like 2 days ago, because I think it's really amazing. So this is trying to look at, it's called Project Runway, and it's trying to look at those folks who have been disintermediated by the technology so that their jobs are going away. What can we do to give them a runway into new jobs and new sorts of value for themselves? And I think it's really, really exciting. This is just a preview. Look for it from Fjord in a few weeks. So with all of this, I feel like, we're dealing with a different kind of systems problem. And I still think it's a service systems problem. And those of you who know me know that this is my sort of favorite formula, the U2, E2, D2, P2, the useful, usable, the exceptional and efficient, the desirable, differentiated for both the people and the providers. I think that's what we're still all about in service design. And I'm super excited to have had the opportunity to give you a little, perhaps, signal into the future, and hopefully encourage you to start to explore these new kind of areas. So with that, I thank you.